Hey, good morning, guys. Last year's garden was a decent success. There's definitely some room for improvement. But this year, early spring, I decided to try my hand at seeding my own plants. I didn't do the full garden variety. I did some tomatoes, some herbs, and a couple things that really didn't germinate. But I'm going to show you what I have and walk through the dilemma that I've been kind of working through, and that's been light. As you can see, it starts off with buying these on clearance at Myers, which is a grocery store. These are the Burpee seedling trays and the reusable. I really like them. They pop out really nice, easy to water. I got some good germination from those. I also on clearance, they had this Burpee light, and I thought this was just kind of like a gimmicky light. It's 17 watts. It actually puts out a lot of power, a lot of good light for what it is. And I forget what I paid for it. Again, I got it on clearance. I don't know if they were 50 bucks and I got them for 25. That sounds right. And originally bought a couple more and I returned them. I'm like, well, if this works out, I'm going to get a decent light setup in a rack. My biggest flaw is I started too early. I started like, I think it was February 1st or the February first week of February, and things grew and I transplanted them to these 4-inch pots I got on Amazon. And then from those to I don't know if that's a 6-inch pot. I think it's a 6-inch pot. And the plants are outgrowing. I'm in Michigan, and usually you can't plant safely until the week after Mother's Day. This year's even colder. This is the 3rd of May. Mother's Day is next week, so maybe the weather will break, but we're really looking at lows of 40-ish. The last weekend was in the 30s. Frost warning, I think it went down to 35, maybe 34 in some parts. So it's still questionable, and I've been rigging up different things to keep these things going as far as light. Now, when they were inside, I had them by the patio window, which they were going pretty good. And then I said, well, I need to step this up. It's getting crazy. I need to get a rack. My wife bought me this on Temu. It was like 30 bucks. It's a 20, actually it's 30-inch by probably like 15. I didn't want something so huge because you can get a good deal on 4-foot racks, especially at Costco. They had, in this area anyway, they had a good sale on them. But I've been looking at lights, trying to do something inexpensive. My original plan was to have at least 3 racks of light and the seed starting rack or tray. So on the hunt, of course, you guys probably use Amazon. I went and looked and looked and looked. I tried to get like a 3 light set, or I'm sorry, a 6 light set for 3 rows, 2 on each. These are these top rows, made very, very inexpensive, very cheap, and yeah, like crazy cheap, thin aluminum. But they actually produced more light than I thought. You know, when it's dark, you hook them up, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of light. And then in the daytime against the picture window, you're like, oh, those are dim. And that's kind of that reference point that I had that, hey, maybe I'm not getting enough light. How do you know you're getting enough light? A lot of people that get serious get a PAR meter. It measures like the radioactivity or a certain spectrum. I don't know if it's like 400 to 700. I'm not the expert here. I didn't want to spend $200 to $500 on a meter. And that's really needed if you want to grab or measure light in the reddish area. But for me, I still am in photography. I don't do it as much as I used to, but used to use a light meter. And this is an old one. It's a Sekonic. It works really good. And I said, well, this is kind of a light meter. And I looked at the manual, and this is an old one. They don't make this anymore. This is an L358. And this one has a setting in the manual that you can go through and they have these little toggles in the back, and set it for lux. And I did that, and it comes up with a reading, and you have to do a calculation, a translation, if you will. I'll show you guys. Uh, I know it's screen on screen. It might be, hopefully it's not backwards for you guys. I can put a screen overlay on it. But there's a lux conversion table. So whatever reading you get, let me turn it on. So if you guys have a light meter, maybe it works. But you can buy lux meters cheap on Amazon. It'll actually tell you the lux. But see, I'm at a 7 right now. And a 7 would be, look at a 7, that'd be 320 lux. I trust this meter. This meter isn't some cheap junk. This is a very good meter made in the Philippines. This thing, it's very accurate. Photography professionals would rely on this to, do the calculation on stops of light. Same thing as what we use here. It's not the par reading, but when my understanding, when you're looking at anything from like that 3K to 6,500 Kelvin, it's what our eyes can see, and these will work okay. What I then did is said, okay, I took some measurements outside. And outdoor readings, April in Michigan, this was last month, I did. Full sun in the mornings, like 14, 14.2. Midday sun's 14.8 to 15. Midday full sun, but in shade, meaning that when it was full sun, I went in the shade, and it was 11.5 to 12. Cloudy days, 13 to 13.5. Very overcast, rain. Like those crummy days, like it's morning and it looks dark. It's 11.5 to 11.8. And when I start taking measurements of the light I had, it was pretty bad. And I'm going to show you guys. Now I'm going to take a reading on this top burpee one. And this isn't exact. This isn't to show you guys like this model review. But I'm going to kind of just go, what is that? About 4 inches, about 4 inches, taking a reading, and it's 12.5. And 12.5 on here is what I was getting on that window where the light would actually, it would grow decent. It wasn't like trying to strain and lean towards the patio door wall. That 12.5 is, that's a cloudy, very, very cloudy day, or in a good shade, meaning it's sunny, but it's just in the shade. And my seedlings were growing with that. And 12.5 is 14,000 lux. And that's kind of where people said for seedlings, you kind of want it to be. So that's kind of making sense. I'm going to shut this one off just so I don't get a carryover on a tear down. And again, I'm not doing a measurement. This isn't and this one is a Barita, I think, and it's not a grow light. So I'm not kind of putting a lot of negative flames on this company. The lights produce okay for light. Now these claim to be 10-watt lights, and that was my other thing. I didn't want a crazy electric bill. Our bills over here are going up and up and up, and I didn't want this hobby that I have to become a more expensive hobby or more expensive thing for the household budget. So what do I got here? I got about the same distance. It's 10.9. 10.9, and if I come out just a little bit, it starts to drop to 10.5. So it's not enough light. These cost, I think I paid, like, at the time, Amazon prices, they changed, seems like hour these days. I want to say it was like $43 for these. There's 6 lights, 3 switches, and you can daisy chain 3 together or 2 together, and so on. So you can have, each set, because that's what I really wanted. I wanted each set of lights to be on a separate switch. So if I didn't have any plants on this side, I could just turn them off. Then after I took my light readings, okay, 10.5, 11 isn't going to cut it for a healthy plant, because I'm getting ready to plant these outside, but I did have fun with it. I'm going to keep on continuing to do it. And then also the replenishment of like some of my vegetables. I'm going to start seeding and getting them ready and putting them out. So these are hopefully only another week. And even now, I'm kind of putting them out in the daylight as the temperature allows it. But I wanted something better, something more powerful. So I picked this setup. This is kind of a no name, and I'm going to put it on the screen here to tell you what it is. And I'll put a link, Amazon links for each one of these. They're not paid, and I'm actually recommending you not to buy these. So, you can click on it to look. And I think if you click on it, I'll still get a little kickback if you buy some stuff. But if you're looking for a cheap shop light, these Burita, they say they're 10 watts, but they measured around 8 watts. So they're a little under what they claim to be. So then I got these pinkish whitish lights. These are, they rated them at, I'm doing this off memory, 23 to 25 watts, in that range. Might have been 24. And I'm like, okay, I'm okay with stepping up the wattage it should get me where I need to be. In that, I at least want it to be in that 12 and a half, because I know that at least seedlings were doing okay by that window. The patio window with the screen kind of moved over. And I bought these, and nope. Again, that's about the same distance. I'm not measuring it. It's like 11, 10.9, 11. So twice, and these said 24 watts, but they were like 19 watts. They weren't 20 watts. But together, we're talking about, 16 watts, 16 to 18 watts, actual watts for these two. And these actually produce, 11.1. And these are, again, they're pinkish white. This meter probably isn't giving them the full justice they deserve, because you would need a par meter. This is not a par meter. This is a Lux meter. But if this was a reputable company, it's kind of a no-name company. So I'm not giving them a negative. Maybe it is. I don't trust them enough. If it was Spider Farmer or this other light company or one of the major ones that had a spectrum chart, I've seen reviews that are not always 100% honest, but at least it's kind of in the ballpark. You can kind of trust them. They've tested them. This, I don't have that. And these are like 10, 11. I just don't feel comfortable, and I don't like the looks. Look at that. If I'm looking at that plant, this is a hobby. I don't like the reddish look. When I take this off, and my tomato plants were doing awesome, and then they start doing bad. I think I was leaving them outside a little bit too cold. They say nothing below 50. A couple days went to 48 for a little while before I brought them in. I don't think they like them even at 50, but so yeah, it's twice as much wattage, at least a little bit more than twice the wattage of this, and I don't think it's really putting out any more light than those. I really don't. And again, it's reddish light. It's supposed to be a different wavelength. I just don't trust it. And of course, this rack is the same as these, because I was taking these off to replace these, did a test, and said, yeah, this is not going to work. So what did I do? I am going to turn the lights back on. I went on Amazon again, and at this point, I'm kind of done at looking at cheap lights, but I still don't want to spend a ton of money. So what I did is I start looking at some of the reputable brands to see what they had available. Looked at Spider Farmer. There was a couple that a little bit more than I needed. A lot of these light companies are really targeting the marijuana growers. They need a little bit more light than somebody like me that's just trying to do seedlings. Spider Farmer actually has a 24 watt-ish, I don't know, maybe 23 tubes that would fulfill this whole section. Not too expensive, but and I may buy a couple of those later on to kind of play around with, but I went another direction and picked up two of these. These are, what are they? Spectra Viper. I don't know if you guys can read that. And they're not as long as I like. These are 70-watt grow lights. And the spectrum, I think, is anywhere from 3,000 to, I don't know, 5,000 or 6,000 Kelvin. And they put out a ton of light. I haven't hooked them up yet. I was waiting to get rid of these plants out in the sun. And but I did test them, and it looks like this is going to be the trick. So let me go ahead and move these out. The big negative of moving to these, I bought two of these. I said, realistically, how much shelving do I need? And I said I could have one shelf on the top for, move you back so you can see the whole thing. One shelf on the top for my seedlings, which I may move that to the bottom shelf, maybe. And instead of 3 shelves, because those kind of lights, they're smaller. And again, there's people out there that know a million times more than me, but they're a smaller distance. Like I think that light is 13 inches. And it is dimmable. It's 70 watts, but it's dimmable. It's not infinite adjustment. It's by 25%. But you have to have a pretty good distance. It kind of casts it down. But I was thinking, what do I really need? I can, for what I'm using it for, I can go to 2. I could kind of go to 2 anyway, but I don't really need that much. I grew too early. I won't do that again next year. I really don't want to get too much into those, that size. that should be in the ground already for what I got going on. But these 4 inches, and I got more of these trays I bought on Amazon. These I got at IKEA. They fit really good, but I can put 2 side by side on 2 shelves. That gives me, what are they, 12, 20, that's 50 pots. 50 pots or 25 small pots and 10 to 12 large pots. That's not including I'm keeping this. That's not including my seedling starters. That's more than I need. This shelf unit has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm gonna go down to 3. These were $39. They're not as cheap as what I had, but they're cheap in the whole grow light world. So let me go ahead and move these plants outside and do some adjustments on the shelf, and we'll see how it goes. I forgot to add, these ones are also cheaply made. There's, just the cheapest of the cheap plastic, aluminum. But one of the things that I do like, if you guys are looking for a strip light, is this reflector so that the bulb isn't blaring you in the eyes. But these are cheap as well, the build quality that is. And these ones have like 2 LED running alongside of each other. So let's extend this through there. Not a lot of distance, but I think it'll still help a little bit. Let's see how this works. This isn't ideal, but let's see if it should come up a little higher. Not much higher, but half an inch higher. Did a quick test last night when these first show up on the porch on Amazon, and they look promising. Again, this is the it's a Spectra Viper P700, $39.99 on Amazon. Warranty applies, such as Amazon. 3-year warranty for grow lights. That's what these are. I don't know. I'll look at all this information here. And I did test it with the wattage last night. It was 70 watts on full power, and it was bright. So off, I have plugged in This is 25% power. Let's see what kind of reading we get at 25. And this is already at 12, 12.2, 12.3. It drops off here. So I really want some distance in order to cover it. It drops off quite a bit. It looks like this might be great for one tray, but not two trays. So let's up it to 50%. What does it draw on? Here, okay, at 25%, it is drawing, it's settling in 17 watts, 17.3 to 17 to 17.3, up to 50 watts, or I'm sorry, up to 50% is 36.8. And they're fairly silent, 36.8. And I'm measuring at a further distance. I'm 11.6 down here, 11.2, 11.1, drops off to 10. 11.2, 11.2, 11.2, up at the top leaves 11.6, 12. When I'm moving right in the center of that, I'm getting 12.8. I don't know if you guys can, let me move you in closer. Let me see if I can put this higher. So at the canopy level at 12.6, that's kind of where I want to be. 12.5, 12.2, 12. It starts to fall off. 12 point, it falls off. So this way, and this is 50%. I'm going to crank it up to 75%. 75%, I'm at 50.50, settling in right around 54 watts. Canopy is 12.6, 12.6. Wasn't updating. 12.6 around here, 12.5, 12.4, 12.0, 11.6, 11.6, 11.6. Up here I'm at 12.8. So the good is that this thing is powerful. If I go up close, it's like 14.2, 14.2. But the problem is, or the negative is, and I'm kind of worried about that, it's a smaller unit. It's for a 2x2 or a 2x3 growing tent. And I probably could put some reflective sides up. Now, it's not up all the way, so let's go up 100%. 100% is 67, 70. 70.3 to 70. It's floating right around 70. So it is advertised wattage. And I'm right in that 12.5. Drops off to 12.3. 12.1 over here. It's really good here. It's like 13, 13.1, 13.3 in the center. 12.9, 12.5. So this is kind of, I was planning on doing 2 racks. You know, maybe the best of both worlds, but it gets expensive, is to do a couple of these, but I'm at 12.5, 12 point, drops off to 11. This might work if I rotate my plants around a little bit. because it's dropping off 12.2. That's not bad. 11.5 on the outer edge, 13, and then 12. So where I would, these plants are a little bit bigger than I normally would have. So let me go ahead and get another tray of these. All right, guys, change of plans. I like the lights, but the dual tray side by side this way wasn't ideal for the light. You know, I'd have to rotate them a lot, and I don't want this to be, you know, an everyday hands-on or all-day hands-on, rotating the plants around. So what I did is I took some measurements on the top of this one and the top of the second tray or the second rack. I realized that if I add those together, reduce the percentage of light to like 75%, I would get almost a perfect coverage for one tray. I could use 3 racks, 3 trays. Yes, I have 4, but I can make that work for now. But ideally, this wasn't the plan. You know, I kind of got ahead of myself and planned it a little early. But I'll have 1 up here and then 3 of the brighter lights. And that gives me 3 trays, which awesome coverage, 50%, 75%. I use this about the same light usage, around that 150 watts, I think, right? So it's like 50 watts. Yes, like 150 watts. And it just has a much better coverage. All right, guys, I'll show you how I'm doing this. Using a couple different lengths of zip ties. This one's probably about 10 inches. This one here is about, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches. This one's, I don't know, medium, heavy duty, probably more of a medium duty. And this one's a light to medium. And the reason I'm doing this is I want, since the holes are on the side here, there's not a good way to have a flush mount. So I need to create a way, an attachment point, and that's what the top one. I'll show you how I'm gonna do this, or how I've done this for the other 2. Probably better if this was metal, but these aren't very heavy. I don't see it being an issue. Yes, if it breaks, it is a single point of failure. I could double up. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll go back and double up or put some kind of string. And I was thinking, if this works, I can even put like baling wire around it instead of these zip ties. But right now I'm using zip ties, and I'm just getting my center point on each side. So I should be like, I don't even need to measure. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I get the big one. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these are the 4. It's just my center point. I'm creating a way to attach, because I'll show you how this attaches. See, there's 2 holes on each end, and this is metal. It's pretty heavy. I mean, it's not heavy that I worry about the zip ties, but compared to the other Amazon no name stuff, it feels like a quality build, but it's not super heavy. I don't have a concern, but again, I could take a little bit of precautionary action. I have this sitting here just so that when I'm mounting it, it doesn't fall. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side, and I'm doing it on this, and I can move it one way or the other way a little bit the way I'm doing it. Same thing here. Zip tie. And I'm making them tight, but not crazy tight, not where it's bending the wire. It slides, but there's some force there. I'm just going to cut it off now because I know that's as tight as I want it from doing the other ones. But if you're not sure, you can leave those until you get the light mounted. I just don't want these ends flying all over the place and you guys can't see the video. And you can use the longer ones. I just don't like to waste the longer ones if I can use the shorter ones. I'm going to take 4 of these shorter ones. Done with the zip ties now. And I am going to, the way I did my light is I got the cord going out, and I am simply going to, and this is the trickiest part of the whole thing, is not dropping the light on the first couple. Once you get the first couple, it's just going to hang. I'll show you my fat fingers. I'm going to go ahead and zip tie that. I'm not going to zip tie it really tight because I want a little room to get my other one in here without it falling. Again, I'm going to come through here. I know it's not rocket science, but just wanted to show you folks. I was kind of trying to come up with a way that I can mount these close to the rack. And when you mount it closer to the rack, wait a second here. I'm just going to do the same on this side. And it will hang on its own now. Maybe I should have waited with this light on it. I thought I had it good, but I think it's still fine. But I could have tightened it a little bit more. I probably still can. Yeah, it's good enough. Probably should have waited before I cut these. That way I could have got it a little bit more snug, closer to the top. Because once it's got some weight on it, it pulled down a little bit. I might still, yeah, I still got it. Probably can get this one too. Oh, it is as many as it is. All right, and that's all of the installation. I'm just gonna tighten these up. Actually, it's fine. And then I'm gonna cut the wire off. I have all my plants outside. I'm gonna go grab them. Give this a shot. Oh, and then I need one more zip tie. I'll manage my wires in a minute. I'll show you guys what I have here. All the dimmers and adjustments. It's 25, 50, 100%. All right, guys, finished product with the lights and plants on. The top lights, the lights that are actually on, I don't have the, well, I could turn it on. There's no plants up there, but so that's not adjustable. That's at Burpee. It works really good for seedlings. That'll be my seedling rack. These racks are on 50%. And then the bottom one, there's a higher distance to try to cover those two trays. That one is on 100%. And I'm using total wattage is about 160. That's with the top light on. Let me shut that off. It should go down to 140 something. That's what it was, 143.2. And that's essentially what it would be for the two lights at 100% with a greater distance. But I like it better with the shorter distance. I got another rack, so I don't really lose that much space. Ideally, this is the best that I could come up with. After going through two failed attempts at Amazon for cheap $50 light sets, I settled on these because these, at least for what I could find, were the decent quality real grow lights from a decent company that put out decent light. $40 a piece, 70 watts. The only thing I wish is it was 70 watts, but it was longer. It was spread out. Instead of, I think these are like 13 inch. I wish it would go to 24 and just spread out the light. So more of a consistent, spread out, broad light. Maybe even throw a mild diffuser if they could do it without losing a lot of light. But I don't know I searched and searched and searched. I don't know what you guys are using. If maybe those lights are working good for you, the cheap Amazon, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to know. And I may set up a similar kind of setup for my father-in-law. So if you guys have any ideas, I'd love to hear them and hope this helps somebody out there that's thinking of doing the same. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.